Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. And I wanted to post a reaction to the Avengers Endgame trailer teaser that just came out recently. Of course, I was blown away by it, as so many people were. Very excited about the film. And it's been a day or two, but I like to take a day or two to really get my thoughts together and consider it. So here goes. I think that really my reaction to the trailer and my awe of the trailer and excitement for the coming film can really be summed up in just an intense appreciation for the pacing of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've talked about this a little bit before in my reviews of different Marvel films, but looking at the cinematic universe as its own story, of course it's made up of unique individual films, and then you can even look at trilogies and certain character arcs within that. But one of the things that Kevin Feige has to be paying attention to is the overall story from beginning to end, and that's something that you see a producer like Kathleen Kennedy completely falling flat on her face in, because a lot of producers don't understand this new beast, this new genre of the shared cinematic universe and what it takes to make it a success, and that is to have an eye on and hands-on control of the overall story, the overall arc of it, where we're heading with that. So I really appreciate and am just constantly in awe of Kevin Feige's ability to do that. And here, in terms of pacing, I think I mentioned it in the Ant-Man and Wasp review I did, how much we needed that film after Avengers Infinity War. That was a heavy blow. It was a strategic and a real gut punch. And we needed a light moment. We needed some comedy. So Ant-Man and Wasp was a great film, but it didn't dishonor what we had just gone through because it was set before that. The events were set before those in Avengers Infinity War. So it didn't feel like it was taking it too lightly or anything. And this is the biggest pitfall I see filmmakers and producers or whatever fall into. They don't understand the need to let scenes breathe and let certain emotions that you inspire in the audience, let them sit with that. Let them breathe into that. Let that process itself before you move on. A lot of filmmakers know that they need a mixture of drama and comedy and some heavy hard-hitting scenes and then some lighthearted. That's a no-brainer. But when it comes to mixing them together, that's where filmmakers tend to really misunderstand the process. And an example is some of those comedies nowadays which just do not let you have a moment to feel anything. They just want you to laugh. I've talked about this before. Again, it's my biggest critique of Thor Ragnarok, even though I did enjoy the film. I don't hate it. I'm not ripping on it by any means. But I think that genre of comedy that it was made in is a real problem. It's kind of indicative of this. It took so many heavy, hard, dramatic moments and just skated right over them, to the point where it felt like it was disrespecting them. You know, the Warriors 3, they can be killed off for a joke. The complete and utter destruction of Ragnarok, whatever. We'll get Korg to make a joke. It's fine. So it just and I think it's telling that a film like that is probably one of the more popular ones. That tells you something about today's society and the psychology and attention spans and whatnot that people have been cultivating in the media and whatnot. But I've talked a little bit about that before in other videos. That's a completely different topic. I just appreciate how we didn't receive that treatment for the events of Avengers Infinity War. That is a heavy blow. We're made to sit with it for a long time, until another film came out. They've been very careful about what little pieces of information they wanted to release. Of course we know more's coming. And of course anybody paying attention to the details and the things that were said, we know that a lot of that finger snap is going to be undone. But we don't know exactly what kind of scars are going to be left behind. And it hurts to think about it when you're invested in a character. And that's good storytelling, when you do feel that from an investment in the story and in the characters, and that's great. So looking at this trailer for the Endgame, we see that kind of respect and serious treatment of the events that have previously passed. So we see that no one's going to just bust into this movie and say, ha, now we're just going to fix it, and there we go. And, that sounds kind of cheesy or flippant, but believe it or not, that's how a lot of films or a lot of filmmakers would handle something like this, and it's pretty silly. So the trailer itself is put together nicely. We have this moment with Stark there in space. I think we see later that Nebula is probably there with him on the ship. She will probably survive due to her technical implants or whatever, alien DNA and whatnot, but he's about to die in all of this, and this is it's a heavy moment, and we were even allowed to sit with that for a brief second or two, which is proper in terms of a teaser trailer time. So that's great. We move on to meeting our heroes who are still surviving. We see them mourning the ones who have passed. Again, another great thing. So we know this film's going to take seriously the loss and the tragedies, and we know that it's going to posit a solution, and that's great. But we also know that it's not going to be easily won, and it's not. Well, at least I think we're getting the sense that it's not going to be complete and total erase. Everything's fine now. Everything's happy. No consequences whatsoever. Because there do need to be some scars that, just for the sake of we don't want to feel like we've been through this with the characters, and the characters should remember it and everything like that. So there'll be some scars. We don't exactly know what they will be yet. I appreciated the fact that Carol Danvers was nowhere to be seen in this trailer. I think that's a great move. They may have done it just for the simple reason that they don't want to reveal too much right away. I mean, we know, obviously, and it's been said that she is going to be in this film and play an important role in it. But for those of us who are very concerned about her treatment and her role in the future of the cinematic universe, it's a good move not to even mention her in it, because we don't care about that character yet. There's no investment whatsoever other than some SJW flag waving, bandwagoning, and whatnot in the media. So keep her out of it until we can decide if we even care about her yet. I like that. I like that the first two, or the only two characters, really, the two characters who we cared about most, who were the big main characters who were conspicuously absent from Infinity War, were Hawkeye and Ant-Man. And we see them both in this trailer. And I think that both of them, it's key that they weren't in Infinity War, because they're both symbols of hope and lightheartedness within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think it's interesting how even just the teaser trailer here shows what may have become of them. And I like that. It's a good signifying of the way the film's going to handle the story and what do we have before us, what we can look forward to. So Hawkeye, Clint, for example, Age of Ultron solidified him as the heart of the group in a lot of ways, really the human heart, the one who was most attached to a normal human life. He had that, and that was one way for audiences to most relate to the team in general, because it was a bridge, sort of. Not that he's has to be your favorite character or anything, but in terms of team dynamics, you do need one who's most grounded, and that was great. And there were little things like his wife saying, "No, they need you because they're such gods among men," kind of thing. So I really appreciated that setup with him, and he really lived that. He embodied that role with his mentoring of Scarlet Witch there, and talking to her about these things, and his rivalry there with Quicksilver and stuff like that. So I love that. That was great. It was nice to see him come back in Civil War, no matter, even in spite of the normal family life that he had going there. He was inspired by Captain America to do what was right and to stand up for what needed to be stood up for. So again, it was a great hopeful symbol of a character. And in the Avengers Endgame trailer, we see him in his Ronin version of the character. And this was from one version of the character in the comics where he goes kind of dark, and he turns into this sort of Ronin type character who's not really all about, to coin a DC Superman phrase, the truth and justice and all of that. He's more about striking out and getting revenge or whatever on different criminals and whatnot. So it's a darker version of Clint. And even in the trailer, over the narration by Captain America, he says, we've lost everything. We've lost family. We've lost even parts of ourselves. And that's when we see him in the Ronin armor, and Natasha, shocked to see him like that, just having slaughtered some people, and I think wiping his sword off on his gauntlet there or something like that. And he most likely has lost his family in this finger snap. And in fact, he's lost a part of himself in that loss. So he's lost that hopeful, that mission that he had before him and those beliefs, and now he's a darker character. Now, as much as that hurt to see that, I don't think that necessarily means we're going to leave Clint in that moment. Maybe it's even an alternate universe version of Clint. I don't know exactly how the film's going to handle all of the things like the quantum realm and time travel and all of that. But I think it's key that we see Clint Barton in that version of himself, the Ronin version. That tells us that there are going to be consequences to the things that have happened, and nothing's going to just be flippantly brushed aside, or we're not going to get a fooled you kind of thing or whatever. That's good. That's good. That tells us that the film's going to honor what we've been through as an audience, sticking with these characters up to this point. But then we see Scott Lang, Ant-Man. We don't see him at all in the film. We see his pictures as somebody who's missing, but not until we've really had the whole teaser. The teaser's pretty much done. There's that wonderful line when Natasha is encouraging Captain Rogers and saying, this is going to work, and he says, I know it's going to work because I don't know what I'll do if it doesn't. That's a great moment, and the dynamic between Natasha and Captain America, I just want to talk about this before I get to Scott Lang there, is a great one. It goes back to the relationship that they developed in Winter Soldier, and I think it's telling that he's even wearing a very Winter Soldier-like version of his uniform there, it seems like, and she's talking to him. They had great exchanges. She tried her usual feminine wiles on him. That was one of the ways that she was able to relate or cope or feel secure with other male warriors or whatever, and he rejected them. There's that great scene in the pickup truck when she says, what do you want me to be or whatever, and he says, how about a friend? And they have a great relationship from that point, and that's been wonderful to see. Then as they found out that Hydra was infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., she was devastated because she thought she'd been a good guy now, and she was still working for the bad guy, but Steve was smiling, and she said, how come you're so happy? He said, because now I know who to punch. Now there's an actual bad guy. There's somebody for me to go and fight. Now I have a way to continue to live out my virtues and stuff like that. So there's always been a great, almost sibling-like relationship between the two. And then we saw that in Civil War as well, when she was there to comfort him after the death of Peggy. And of course she moved over to his side even. So it was a great relationship we've got going there, and I'm glad that we're going to see a furtherance of that in this film throughout these events. So I like seeing that little exchange between the two of them. Cap's words tell us how dire this situation is, and that this is pretty much the only thing that can work, and it's going to be a big deal. So stakes are high, and it's going to be treated as such. I'm excited about that. And then that wonderful little scene with Scott Lang at the door on the video. So I don't exactly know what's going on with that. Was it just video footage of him actually there at the door at that moment, like security footage, or was he suddenly showing up on footage in the past, like a previous archive? Because I think there's archives written on the screen somewhere where he wasn't before, maybe alluding to some time travel or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, he's there as his usual Scott Lang self, as though he hasn't even missed a beat. And he probably hasn't. He probably has just come back from the Quantum Zone after the end of Ant-Man and Wasp there, suddenly realized all this happening. So this is a character who probably hasn't had to live through a year, 2 years, however much time has passed since Infinity War, and really dealing with the devastation. So he still has all of his hope and lightheartedness and brevity brought to it. I love that inclusion. And then doing his usual Scott Lang self. Oh, you might remember me, this or that. Could you buzz me in? Just that was just perfect. It was the perfect note to end this teaser trailer on, because that's Kevin Feige. That's the Marvel Cinematic Universe telling you that yes, this has been heavy. And there's going to be scars, but we're still the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We still are going to provide you with the type of universe and the type of emotions and the type of inspirations that you've come to expect and that you've come to appreciate from us. So I love that. And then, of course, with the logo in a lot of ways being the reverse of the finger snap. So as people sort of faded away into broken little pieces, we see the Avengers A coming back together by those pieces solidifying. So that was really cool. I just couldn't be happier with this as a teaser trailer. I do hope that it continues to deliver with the trailers to come, and of course in the film. I'm still concerned about Captain Marvel and ultimately her role in all of this, but I'm still trusting in Kevin Feige, because he, as I said in the Captain Marvel video trailer reaction I did, he's never really let me down. So I mean, this could be the first time. It could be. He's not a god. He's a human, but as of now, he's done nothing to dissuade from trusting him. So I'm going to continue and see what happens. And if this falls apart, it'll be a heavy blow that will deserve to be called out on it. But hopefully that won't happen. So let me know your thoughts. Are you excited about Avengers Endgame? You can check out the reaction I did to the Captain Marvel trailer if you'd like. Of course, I have reviews on the last few films from the MCU as well. Thanks for liking and subscribing, sharing the video. I have links to a Patreon below. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.